My guest on Straight Talk this week is Nigel Farage, member of the European Parliament, leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party, UKIP, co-chair of the Independence and Democracy Group in the European Parliament. Nigel Farage, in the last European elections, your party won 12 seats, 2004. Campaign's barely begun for this year's elections in June, but you're saying that if you don't win 10 seats, you'll quit as leader.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't take a party over as leader and have a bad result and not expect to carry the can. That's all right.
10 be a bad result, though, to 12?
10 would be a similar result to last time, because don't forget the number of British MEPs is going down from 78 to 72 because we've let in Romania and Bulgaria and goodness knows who else. So no, what I'm saying is that we have to maintain. The minimum for me is we have to maintain what we achieved last time round, or else somebody else better have a go.
Have you had enough of leading UKIP?
Well, I'm not going to say I've had enough of it, but I wouldn't pretend that it's easy. No, I mean, I think that I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've held all the other posts in the party. I've been chairman.
You're already speaking in the past tense?
No, I enjoyed being the chairman of it. That's the past tense. I enjoyed being the campaign director from 02 to 04, and I've enjoyed doing this since 2006. But you have to produce results. And particularly with a party like ours, if we don't produce a good result, I know what that'll mean. There'll be infighting and goodness knows what else. Anyway, I'm not being negative about this, and one of the reasons for saying that I'd go if we didn't get 10 seats is to point out to people how optimistic I am about our chances on June the 4th.
You used a phrase in one interview, quote, "I have tried to change the party."
Yeah.
It was reminiscent of the words in a different context that Robert Kilroy-Silk used when he was briefly a member of UKIP and then left in 2005. What are you trying to change?
I think the image. And I think image does matter. It doesn't matter which way you cut it, it does matter. And I have been trying very hard to change it. And I'm pleased to say that when I now look at our slate of candidates for this year's European elections, we've got much younger people, we've got women in prominent positions, and we've got 5 people who were born in the British Commonwealth, black and Asian, who've now come to Britain, naturalised as Britons and are standing for us. So I think I've succeeded to some extent in making the party look very different.
Because part of the problem, I think, that you felt yourself was there was a kind of, quote, disgusted of Tunbridge Wells feel to the party.
Yeah, it looked a bit like that, and it tended to attract that kind of following. And because I've been battling hard to change it, and it takes time. You know, we haven't used positive discrimination or anything like that, so it's had to evolve, and it's taken some time to get to this. But look, I mean, Marta Andreasen, the former EU chief accountant, a Spanish citizen, and the members of UKIP, on a one-man, one-vote principle, put her second to me on the South East list. And that shows you that the party has changed significantly over the course of the last 3 years.
Even if you do well, even if you win as many seats or you win even more seats, are there people in UKIP, given past bad blood, that would like to see the back of Nigel Farage?
There is no political party in which 100% of the members at any given moment in time will wholeheartedly support the leader. So that just never happens. I would have thought, right at this moment in time, I probably enjoy more support in my party as leader than Gordon Brown does in his.
Maybe not more than David Cameron.
Probably more than David Cameron in some ways,
really?
Because, well, let's find out. You know, one of the points of this campaign is what we want to do over the course of the next 6 weeks is to engage this country in a proper national debate about what is our relationship with the EU, about who makes our laws. Now, David Cameron doesn't want to have that conversation. I suspect many of his own party members would like to have that conversation.
Let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, or agree that this is a Eurosceptic country. Indeed, maybe getting even more Eurosceptic, as some of the opinion polls suggest. We had one on the Daily Politics recently suggesting that with a large number of people happy to leave the EU. Why do you think, when it comes to national elections, you've failed to translate that Euroscepticism into votes for UKIP?
2 reasons. The first is the first-past-the-post system. And under the first-past-the-post system, you know, you meet them in the high street and they say, Nigel, we agree with you. Thank goodness you're here. Isn't it great that someone's standing up for us? And you say, well, thank you very much, sir. So you will vote for us. Oh, no, I can't vote for you, because if we vote for you, the other lot will get in. And especially in marginal seats, or where there seemed to be a contest between at least two of the parties, people say we agree with UKIP, but we're going to go one way or the other because under first past the post we feel the vote for them, whilst principled, might be a wasted vote. The second reason that we haven't done better than we have in general elections, although I would remind you, if you look at a graph of our votes in general elections, it is actually rising quite sharply.
From a small base.
I accept that. I accept that. But the second reason why is because we have, when we have a general election, three big parties, in England at least, who, when they contest the campaign, do not want to discuss the European dimension of our lives whatsoever. And it is virtually impossible for us to get that issue, I say that issue, the issue from which comes 75% of our laws, but it's difficult to get that issue on the agenda. In a European election, both of those problems disappear. Firstly, being PR, there's no such thing as a wasted vote. We've got a good track record over the last 3 European elections, and we're able, in a European election, to start discussing issues like where is our law made and how much does all of this cost. So that really has been the big difference between the two.
But in the national elections, won't it therefore, for the reasons you've given, won't that make it even more difficult as time goes on, because we're in a serious global recession, and leaving the EU, even among Eurosceptics, might not be uppermost in their mind?
Well, that depends a bit, doesn't it? I mean, if we're successful, as I hope and believe we will be in the European election, the effect of that is to put the European question much higher up the agenda. You know, much as Mr Cameron and Mr Brown may not want to discuss it, if it becomes a situation where people like you wish to discuss it with them, well, then they can't really run away from it. So, and in 2004, we did put ourselves into a position where suddenly this issue was up the agenda, but unfortunately, the threat that UKIP posed, if you like, at the subsequent general election diminished because of the problems that we had, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. So it's a question of getting this thing up the agenda, and I mean, make no doubt, no bones about it. I mean, we already have over 320 selected prospective parliamentary candidates for the next general election, and we'll go into that election, I'm sure, with 500 plus candidates. So that's our aim, that's our intention, is to make this part of a general election debate.
Despite your, let's call it a triumph in 2004 to get 12 MEPs, aren't people now going to be dissuaded this time round? Because of the 12 MEPs that were elected for UKIP, one deserted, another was convicted for fraud, and a third is being investigated for fraud. It's 20% of your parliamentary party.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing, there's one lesson in this. You're better off getting rid of bad apples than you are keeping bad apples in. You're better being a leaner, united team than not.
But why were 20% of your apples bad?
Well, one reason was that we didn't have available to us at the time the enhanced Criminal Records Bureau check that exists today. So we found ourselves 2 days after an election with somebody who'd been elected on our ticket who had lied to us. We'd done a police check, but the police check did not reveal the fact that he was currently going through difficulties. Listen, I've not been pleased with some of our people, far from it, but I think you have to judge a party by how it deals with its problems. And in the cases of both the MEPs who have been less than honest with us, we've been absolutely ruthless, and without any questions we've said you've broken faith with us and you're gone. And that is how I want people to judge us. Every political party, for time immemorial, has had its problems with bad people, just as you get them in companies, just as you get them in families. It's not a record that I'm proud of, but I am proud of the way that we as a party have dealt with those problems. The other one that you're talking about is the former daytime television presenter, and we won't be taking on any more ex-BBC presenters, I promise you.
We think he was more of a talk show host than a presenter.
You can view it how you want, but don't apply, please. But, you know, I mean, quite honestly, I look back on that with, personally, some degree of anger. I mean, I recruited Robert Kilroy-Silk to the party. I gave him an opportunity to get back into politics and to get back into public life. The upside of Kilroy, for us, was that before he existed, there were lots of people out there, unless they were really keen on politics or busily read their newspapers, a lot of people out there didn't know what the UK Independence Party was. If you walk into the pub now and you say to people, what's UKIP? They say, oh yeah, they're the lot that are against us being in the European Union. To find out more about who we are and what we stand for,
go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.